Sup, freaks? It's your boy Marty here to introduce this rip of TFTC. Thank you for joining us. Give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel. If you catch us on podcast apps, make sure you subscribe there. Give us a rating, a review. Go to tftc.io as well. Become a member of the site. Join the conversation. Truth for the commoner, trying to get you the high signal content in a world gone mad. This rip was brought to you by our good friends at River. River's here to make it as easy as possible for you to buy Bitcoin and then take it into self-custody. Go to river.com/TFTC, set up an account today, and you'll get $5 of Bitcoin after you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin on River. You can dollar cost average into Bitcoin with no fees. If you're just buying one off, River has the best fees in the industry. They back all their Bitcoin reserves 1-to-1 in multi-sig cold storage. They highly recommend that you take self-custody. They just introduced limits. So if you want to set a limit order below or above the current Bitcoin price, River makes that extremely easy as well. They also have real customer support. You can pick up the phone and call them if you have any questions about your experience on River. So go to river.com/TFTC, set up an account today. This rip is also brought to you by our good friends at CrowdHealth. CrowdHealth is here to provide you with a new way to pay for your healthcare. It's not health insurance. Health insurance is notoriously expensive, opaque, impersonal. CrowdHealth is really trying to change that model. You pay a monthly fee. It builds up in an account. If you ever have a health event, you let CrowdHealth know. They go to the doctor. They negotiate the price lower. You pay the first $500 and the rest gets crowdfunded by the CrowdHealth community. They have Bitcoin Lightning payments that they just enabled. So if you want to pay your monthly fee plus your doctor in Bitcoin over the Lightning Network, you can now do that. They've got a roster of doctors that you can access. They're approaching healthcare in the right way. It's a healthy community focused on preventative healthcare and avoiding the big pharma industry as much as possible. So if you're looking for a cheap healthcare solution, you're not happy with your health insurance, maybe it's a bit too expensive, try out CrowdHealth. Me and my family use it. Go to joincrowdhealth.com/TFTC. Sign up today using that, and you'll get $50 off your first month. Joincrowdhealth.com/TFTC. Enjoy this rip.
How come you don't talk about Owls Lacrosse anymore?
Owls Lacrosse?
Owls Lacrosse.
Still a big fan of Owls Lacrosse.
Big shout out to Sam Enchilada. Owls Lacrosse.
Unfortunately, Cash App, well, not unfortunately, just way of the business, Cash App isn't a sponsor. And that was a deal we did with Cash App where people would sign up.
Oh, and you were just giving the referral to them?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
They seem to be doing great.
Sam's crushing it. I talked to him, I think 6 months ago. It's funny, one of the girls, one of the women who works here in the comments was friends with him growing up. And we somehow stumbled. I think I was talking about Owls Lacrosse. She was like, "You know Sam?" I was like, "Yeah, I know Sam."
So the girl out there, Julia, said she got the job because of her brother, who's a listener of you. Do you know who her brother is?
I don't know. There's a lot of listeners out there, so we've come a long way from the DPU lax days.
Dude, yeah. Well, I was done playing 2010, and that was, dude, how about we tell the story of your last game? That was your last game, right?
Last game ever. Hung up the cleats after that one.
All right, do you want to tell your side of the story, and then I'll fill it in?
Who were we playing? Augustana. We're in Rock Island, Illinois, on the border of Illinois and Iowa.
This is 2010. Must have been, or 2009, 2010.
2010. We were on the back end of a road trip. We had gone down to St. Louis and made our way back up to Rock Island, right?
Yeah.
And we're playing in the middle of nowhere. Tired. I think that was our third game that weekend. I think we were in Indianapolis, then Missouri.
Poor scheduling, just
and then up to Iowa. Yeah, I decided I didn't want to play long stick. I didn't want to play close defense. I wanted to play midi. So I grabbed a stick, and then Pat Desmond, who I saw crying on Instagram because the Detroit Lions won a playoff game for the first time in 30 years the other day.
How did I miss that? Dang. Wow.
He threw me. So in lacrosse, when the goalie saves a ball and you break out, to start the transition. You're looking for the ball over your shoulder, looking back at the goalie, and the goalie's supposed to throw you a tight ball right to your stick, because there's defenders out there that could hit you. Desmond threw me what?
He shouldn't have. She shouldn't even looked. Shouldn't even looked. You were right in the middle of the field.
Yes.
Like, definitely, go to the outside. And you just do one of these over your shoulder, and then it was just buddy pass, like nice lob, hits your stick, and it was just like decked.
Some dude who had to be like 6'5", 250 pounds hit me straight in the chest. I don't remember any of it.
And like, you just hit the ground so hard. It was like a big duffel bag just got dropped from like a 10-story building. That's how it sounded. And
I got knocked out. But
you got up like right away, and you came onto the side, and I remember being like, I was like, damn, wow, he really got his bell rung. And I was like, okay, but like, I was trying to keep pushing you to like go back. I was like, yeah, man, like, we just need to, get some momentum on offense and get it going. And you were like ready to go back out. And Tim, this is another
Courier.
Like, Tim Courier was like, we were so ragtag that it was like always a player coach. Tim was a senior and he was the head coach. And he was like, dude, he's not going back. He's not going back out. And you were like ready to go. And then he's like, Steak, what day is it? And you're just like, oh, fuck.
I had no idea what day it was. I got hit so hard to piss myself.
That was scary. And that's when we were like, got to take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
And drove you to the hospital. And
an ambulance showed up. I went in the ambulance. Because I remember they put an IV in me in the ambulance.
So I went in the ambulance with you and had to call your mom. Because I was the president, and man, that sucked. Like,
no, I remember.
And you were like, this is like, I was like, have you had a concussion before? And you're like, yeah, it's like my like 7th one or something.
Yeah, it was my 6th pretty bad concussion. I remember coming to in the middle of Rock Island, Illinois, in the middle of nowhere. We're like waiting in the waiting room for a doctor to see me. And I come to, like, I think I come out of the fog I was in after being hit. And I like come to, and the first thing I see is this like dude with like a bald head, and he's got a tattoo of a middle finger on the back of his head. I was like, where the fuck am I? What am I doing here?
Good old Rock Island.
And then you, I think it was Guido and Reed waited, and we drove back to Chicago through the middle of the night. And I was fucked up for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, that was scary. I remember just being like, I couldn't believe, I felt so guilty that I was like, I wanted you to just keep playing. I was like, dude, come on, let's go. And Tim, when he called you out on the date, I was like, wow, I guess that's how you know.
I couldn't even spell my name. It's weird because I have like these, I remember Tim asking me that, and I didn't know. I didn't know what day it was. And I remember asking me to spell my name, and I could see my name in my brain, but I couldn't like articulate the letters. I was like, here we are though.
I mean, you've come a long way.
Yeah.
Come a long way.
I became that player coach after I got knocked out. I started coaching my sophomore year.
Then that was, sophomore year. How did you guys do sophomore and junior year?
We kept getting progressively better. Sophomore year was the worst, but then junior and senior year, we did well, obviously, the senior year. Ending with a ship.
And you didn't have any other coach sophomore year or junior year?
We had that dude, Culver. What was the name? He was terrible. And he tried to be like the head coach over
I think we're probably going to get some DPU lax guys listening to this, hopefully. Right?
I would imagine. But no, it's weird thinking back because that was like 2010. I got knocked out, couldn't play lacrosse anymore, couldn't play sports anymore, except for like basketball at the Ray.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like sort of what set me down the path to Bitcoin. I was like, all right, can't play sports anymore. Let me focus on economics and all this shit. Then fell down the Bitcoin rabbit hole like 2.5 years later.
Yeah. And 2013 was the championship season.
Yes.
When your boy, showed up as an assistant coach.
Yes, thank you. From the mean streets to Grubhub, coming into Groupon, not Grubhub.
And I wasn't even at Groupon at the time. I was at this other company called Bright Tag, and I was not enjoying my job. And I just remember being like, "This is sweet. Like, this team is like winning," and then going down and winning the conference championship, Great Rivers Conference.
Yes, GRLC.
And then going to the national championship tournament. That was so fun to just like, because when I was playing, it was like the first year we were killing it. We had all these Brother Rice guys. We were like smoking the league, and then we got moved up into a legit league conference, and then we were just getting our asses kicked by like Wheaton, and like, because we were just like partying a lot, and like these guys were all sober, just working us. But like we had kids from Brother Rice, like the best school in the Midwest. But yeah, that was so fun. Like seeing a team that you built pretty much from like freshman year, it's like sophomore, and then coach like win a championship. That was like, it was awesome.
All it took was a little structure. All I did was add 6 a.m. workouts in the off season and 2 practices a week in season. And we just had camaraderie and a bit of structure. And actually, obviously playing lacrosse in the Northeast allows you to know the game pretty well. I knew how to organize a defense. I handled the defense, and there were some players on the team that could put together an offense. I was like, you guys focus on offense. I'll make sure the defense is good.
Yeah, I didn't even really like try to do any X's and O's. I was like just trying to hype everyone up. I was like, let's just fucking kick the shit out of these guys. Let's go.
But we've come a long way since then.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were at
10
Groupon
years.
at, what was that one?
And Bright Tag.
Bright Tag. You don't seem like somebody who likes being chained to a desk or working for a company.
No. When I was working at Groupon, I really enjoyed, I was doing sales, and I was like launching markets. My first market at Groupon was Fayetteville, North Carolina. And it's like a tiny military town outside of Raleigh. And I like went out there, and it was really fun actually, like going to visit and like meeting with, like my best customer was a indoor skydiving place. So I like got to go there and like do that, and like meeting people face to face and like doing those deals was really fun. And then I started to moved up from Fayetteville to Raleigh, and then Charlotte, and then I started doing the Groupon getaways. And I was like in charge of like the ski Groupons, all the mountain stuff, all the resorts. And I found this one conference called the Mountain Travel Symposium. And I remember just pitching like the GM of the Groupon getaways. I was like, look, Living Social is there. They're like the headline sponsor. Like, we have no representation. We got to be there. Like, and he was like, well, I don't want to like pay to be there, but like, I'll send you there if you want to go. I was like, okay. It was at Squaw Valley. And I was like, this is sweet. I'm going to get paid to go like ski for a week and like meet it was like a speed dating type of thing. And everyone's like skiers and stuff. And there's a movie, like my favorite ski movie. I think I probably told all the team about it, called NAR.
NAR, yes.
And it's based on this book called Squallywood. NAR is like a acronym for Gaffney's Numerical Assessment of Radness. And Scott Gaffney, Rob Gaffney, they wrote this guidebook on how to attack the mountain and like
get points
for certain lines. And then you get like extra credit points for doing shit like skiing up to a bunch of like a stranger and saying like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm the best rider on the mountain, or like, I'm so much sicker than you, like I can't believe you're a pro. Just like skiing naked, like doing like, the more uncomfortable something made you feel, the more points it was worth. And I think I made everybody like watch that on the lacrosse team.
Yes.
I was like, this movie is how I live my life. Like, you gotta do this. And yeah, I had a hard time like keeping a desk job.
Yeah. Especially at Groupon. Like, what happened to Groupon? Is it still around? Like, I think Groupon may be like one of the prototypical products of like zero interest rate policy companies. They just got a shit ton of money.
Well,
they were huge in Chicago when we were there.
This is way before zero interest rates. This was like, for the longest time, it was like, okay, we have like, I don't know. I felt like they really put e-commerce and like email, like, okay, how do we figure out like what to do with like social, like sharing and like emails and like deals and like, I don't know. I feel like Groupon was just the right place at the right time, and everyone figured out like, okay, if we can just get a Groupon deal, like we're going to get in front of so many people, we're going to drive so much traffic to our business. But it was ultimately like a lending platform, because
really
these restaurants were like always strapped for cash, and the best deals were like restaurant deals. And it'd be like, okay, you'd call a restaurant, you'd say, okay, so what's your average ticket for two people? And they'd say, oh, it's $25. So you'd say, okay, we'll do a deal. $12 gets you $25 worth of food at, you know, your barbecue restaurant. You get $6 and we get $6. And those rates don't happen anymore, or at least that's how it worked in the beginning. And so then they would sell like 1,000 of these Groupons, and so that's $6,000, and that's the $6,000 that they like didn't have to do anything for, and then they get a check, you know, like 30 days later for $6,000. But then they get like slammed with business, and like the whole staff is like pissed off, the customers get pissed off, and like it's kind of a nightmare. But like for a while, it was like the hottest thing. It was like, and it was like really fun to work there. Like,
oh, I remember going to visit the offices
super fun
when some of our friends would work there. It was a campus.
Every 2 weeks there was like 60 people from like Big Ten schools that were just graduated, that were like rolling in, and everyone's making like 10 grand a month selling coupons, you know. It was like crazy. It was great. And everyone's like partying like after work every night. And like you could see it was like instant gratification. You know, you call a business, you do a deal, and then you, in like 7 days, it would be live on the internet. And then you just like look at your deal, like after work on your phone, you just be like, you know, refreshing my deal, like how much, you know, calculating your commission in your head, like nice. Like kind of crazy, you know, thinking back and thinking about like some of the businesses that just like got blown out.
Yeah. Because that's not a viable business at the end of the day, right? Like imagine the restaurant sells at $25 for 12.
Yeah. I mean, you could only do it like once a year, or like once very sparingly. But then like it's like a drug. Like these restaurants are like, hey, let's do it again, run it again.
Are they making money though, or are they losing money from this?
It's not. It's like they're usually not making money, but it's like an advertising expense.
Yeah,
it's kind of how you have to, I don't know, think about it.
Yeah, you're getting people in, hoping they come back.
Yeah. That was one of our lines when we call, be like, you know, would you rather put up a billboard, or would you rather have them come in the door and try your food, you know, and let it speak for itself? You know, like, do you think you could get them to come back a second time? And they're always like, yeah, oh yeah, I can get them to come back. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny how that space has evolved. Now it's all, what do you think's taken over Groupon after that?
I don't know. I mean,
something like Easy Table. Is it Easy Table? What is it? I'm trying to think of the apps.
I mean, I don't know any of these. I just do like Instacart.
Yeah.
I like never go out to eat.
Well, that's really the thing. That's like, I mean, that's sort of what I wanted to dig into with you. Sean, good friend, founder of Salt of the Earth, which I've been using a lot of. And we've been talking a lot as you've been growing this business over the last 6 months. And I think having been your friend for almost a decade now, more than a decade now, like 14 years now, 15 years almost. It's crazy to think I'm a decade out of college. It seems like you're really invigorated about like starting your own business and leaning in. And not only starting your own business, but something that sort of aligns with who you are today, because you're not a party boy anymore.
No. No.
You've really leaned into the health side of things.
Yeah, man. I'm almost like 7 years without a drink.
How's that? But why did you decide to stop?
So it was on my 30th birthday, or like right after my 30th birthday. I was listening to this podcast of Tim Ferriss and Laird Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Ferriss was like, so Laird, if you could tell your 30-year-old self like one piece of advice, like what would it be? And Laird was like, stop drinking alcohol. And I was just like, and Laird's like, you know Laird, he's like this epic like big wave surfer who's just like badass dude. And I was like, I want to be like Laird. Like I don't know, something about the way he said it, and like I was had been giving up alcohol for Lent for like 6 years, and it was always like something that I saw huge benefits from. I was like, wow, like my sleep's better, like I'm just like feeling better, all these benefits. And then like also I remember telling my grandmother like that I was doing this. She's like, why don't you just give up, just stop, if you keep talking about how great it is, why don't you just stop? And I was like, all right, maybe. And then like she died, and then like I don't know, a few weeks later I heard Laird say that, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna like try it.
Maybe that's a sign. Do you miss it at all?
No, not really. Like it's helped me a lot, just like not drinking. Like
in what ways?
I mean, really the sleep was probably the biggest thing. I mean, but then the drugs didn't really stop after the drinking. I let that keep going for another like 4 or 5 months, and then that got like crazy, and then I was like, I got to stop everything.
Mm-hmm. So you've been completely sober for almost 7 years.
Yeah. Pretty wild change.
How crazy did it get?
Like, I want to share somehow on this podcast those pictures that we have of like popping champagne bottles from like the championship days, and like I designed a shirt for our lacrosse team that was like, it was like a PBR DePaul Blue Demons. I don't think I have the shirt anymore, but
Jeremy Shockey's got one somewhere.
He's got one somewhere, which is another kind of crazy story.
Yeah, he became best friends with Jeremy Shockey for a short stint there. You still talk to him at all?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while. So yeah, that was during the same time actually that we were doing the coaching, or that I was like helping you out with the coaching at DePaul. I went on vacation. So at this company, Bright Tag, they were really flexing the like unlimited vacation policy, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take 2 weeks and go to Vail. End of December, like peace. And like my brother was like mountain safety and at Beaver Creek, and he was living in this dorm style, a place called the Tarns, and it was like a college dorm. I mean, it was like a common room. This was like this big, and then 4 bedrooms attached, and I was sleeping on the couch, but it was ski in, ski out. So I was like skiing a lot. And the second day in, I was getting kind of bored because they all had like jobs, and I could only ski with like my brother like half the day, certain days. And so I found out that the private lessons were $1,000 a day. And I was like, I could do that. Like, I'm like better skier than this guy. And so I posted an ad on Craigslist saying, I'll give free snowboard lessons, skiing or snowboarding lessons, anywhere in like Summit County, like around. And so I'm getting hit up like crazy. And I have like these 2 girls that want to go snowboarding. I've never given a lesson. And I go to the bar that night, and Jeremy Shockey sits down right next to me. And I was like, whoa, like this guy's massive. And I was like, can I get a like picture? And I'm like just hanging with him. And he's like, I'm wearing like, I have a little bit of gear. Like I'm wearing a hat that says like Beaver Creek. It kind of looks like I work for the mountain a little bit. And he's like, what do you do? What are you doing here? And I was like, yeah, well, I'm giving these 2 girls snowboarding lessons tomorrow. And he's like, dude, let's fuck these girls. he's like, give me your number. And cause there's no girls in the mountain towns. It's like 8-to-1 ratio. So he's like texting me the next day. He's like, yo, what are you guys doing? I was like, hey, sorry. Like the next day the girls bail. They're like hungover, not gonna go skiing. And so Shockey was like, well, all right, well, can you give me and my friend like lessons? I was like, sure. I've never given a lesson before. And like, I have a GoPro, and he introduces me to this guy. This guy's name's Fred, and he's like in his 50s, and he's like very beginner snowboarder. And he's like, okay, so how does this work? Like, you're like free or what? And I was like, look, it's known as pirate instruction on the mountain. Like, you get banned for life if you get caught doing this at Vail Resorts. I didn't know that at the time, but like they'll try to throw a felony at you saying it's like theft of service from Vail Resorts, it's federal wildlife land, like all this bullshit. So you can't even post that on Craigslist anymore. They'll like scan it and they'll pull it down. But I was like, look, I'm not really allowed to like charge you for a lesson, but like if you want to give me a tip, you can. It's $1,000, or you can go pay $1,000 to Vail. And like, I have a GoPro. I'm gonna make a video. It's gonna be like way sicker than whatever you're gonna get from that, idiot. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And he just throws me like $500 cash, like right away. Just slaps my hand. I was like, all right, we're in business. And then like the next day, he just does it again. He just like keeps doing it. And then I'm like hanging out. It's like him and Shockey. And then after a week of doing that, they were like, okay, every time we come back, and these guys were in Miami, and they're like, every time we come back out to the mountain, like we're going to fly you out from Chicago, and you'll like be our guy. I was like, all right, sweet. So like, that was like Christmas. I did that. And then like spring break, I did that. And then another Christmas, another spring break. And then, 2 Christmases. And then they were like, okay, like they offered me a job in like their family office in South Beach. And I moved down 2014.
You've been in Miami ever since?
I've been there ever since.
Do you like Miami?
I do like it, yeah. Miami Beach, South Beach.
I think it suits your needs better than Chicago.
I mean, dude, yeah, I was living with my parents right before that. Like I was like had eventually lost that job with Bright Tag. Now, then they changed their name like a bunch of times, but yeah, it was like
taking too many vacations.
It's probably, yeah, they were just like, who's this fucking guy? Like thinks he's like a lacrosse coach and a snowboard instructor. Like, you got a job to do, buddy. It's like, that's not cool enough. Nobody cares about tag management. Also, at the time, I was trying to sell a technology for like a stupid amount of money, like $5,000 a month. Google had just came out with like Google Tag Manager, and that was free. And everyone's like, oh, never going to take your call. So, yeah.
And yeah, again, it doesn't seem like you're cut out to work for somebody, which is like,
believe me, I've tried. I've tried, but
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I tried to quit many times, but it's that thing. It's like that nagging thing in you. It's like, I'm not liking this. Life's short. I got to go after something I want.
Yeah. So then after the family office thing, I got a job with auction.com. And that was like, I was like, okay, this is cool. This is like tech. This is real estate. I was like doing a lot of real estate stuff and tech stuff. And then I was just like, this is just getting kind of bored. And I went to this like coding boot camp. Didn't you do a design coding
boot camp? Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, I'm going to do that. I was like, I want to like build something, like and that was 2017. And like right before that, like kind of like in the middle of that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to start a snowboarding, a plant-based protein. I was like really into. I had just watched What the Health, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the vegan thing hardcore.
Oh God,
I went there.
that sounds terrible.
For like a year. I was like hardcore.
How unhealthy did you get?
I mean, I was training for an Ironman too. So, and I was like, oh, I'm following the Rich Roll playbook. You know, like this guy did 5 Ironman in like 5 days. And to me, that was like, and he was like 50. And I was like, okay.
As a vegan?
Yeah. But they're like, now there's guys like James Lawrence who did like 50 Ironman in 50 states in 50 days. He's done 100. He just did a thing like called he did like 100 Ironman in a row. He's not a vegan. Like these guys. I even met like other like crazy Ironman athletes, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing the like vegan thing, and they were like, dude, what are you doing? Like, no. But I don't know. For some people it works. I tried it, and I was like, and I wanted to create a product because I saw this girl. Her name is Michelle Lewin. She's like OG Instagram fitness influencer. She was like the first one. She was lived in my building in South Beach, and I'd see her at the gym, and I was like, yeah, she's pretty fit, but like she just made it look really easy, you know, like she has probably like 50 million followers on Instagram now, and like she launched some products and just like blew up, and I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Like you just need to like, I don't know, be fit and like come up with a product and like put it on Instagram and it'll sell. And you got to be like a hot girl. That helps.
Yeah.
But then I was like in South Beach, you know, trying to sell a snowboarding plant-based like high altitude training protein powder. It just didn't work.
No,
it just didn't work. And so then it was all kind of falling apart while I was doing the coding boot camp. And so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna like try to get more like technical and like learn more about like how to build a company on my own. Like I want to build something, and kind of got into like the DevOps stuff, like AWS and just like cloud architecture. And then, well, at the coding boot camp, I made a product. I actually won. You know who's in my boot camp was Sam Abbasi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's been on the podcast.
1031 portfolio company, Hoseki. They actually just made a big announcement today with Bitwise.
What's the deal? What's he up to? I haven't talked to him in like forever.
He found a company, Hoseki, and they essentially are creating a tool that allows you to validate that you own Bitcoin. And so they just announced this partnership with Bitwise, which launched one of the ETFs where like Hoseki will help validate and do proof of reserves for them, so that they can prove the ETF actually has the Bitcoin.
Mm. So we had this competition at the end of the boot camp. I won.
Was it your?
It was called Cabbage Patch. It was the dollar cost averaging app.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. It actually worked. Like I like was able to like, you know, scrap it together and like get it to work. And then I tried to actually, Sam and his team actually tried to like buy me or like figure out, they're like, let's work together. And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to try to sell this thing on my own. And I had this guy who started a company. He was like, he just raised like.
Wait, explain the
explain the app. So the app was called Cabbage Patch, and it hooked up to your bank account, and it would round up every purchase and then buy Bitcoin with the spare change. So if you bought this coffee for, 80 cents, it would round up to $1 and then take that 20 cents and invest it into Bitcoin. The problem is if you're buying Bitcoin at 20 cents, the commission is like huge at the transaction. It was like, it doesn't really make sense to buy that small amount of Bitcoin that frequently. So what it turned into was an app that just bought Bitcoin. It would be like, the way that the workaround was like, okay, we're going to tally up your spare change at the end of the month. And it was usually around $20. And so that was like the app. It was basically like $20 on average, like you're going to buy every month and like on autopilot. And yeah, a bunch of apps kind of came out at the same time doing the same thing.
And you can do that with Cash App now.
You could do it with Cash App. At the time, you couldn't do it with Cash App.
Maybe you planted the idea in their mind.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the first one to have the idea. There was a couple other out there, like, but there was a guy actually, he had the best one. It was called Coin Flash. I remember just staring at his site and being like, damn, this guy's so good.
What was Coin Flash?
It's the same thing, but like you could buy Litecoin, you could buy ETH.
That sounds terrible.
You could, but like he also was better with JavaScript, and like so the front end looked really slick. Mm-hmm. It was like a lot of toggles and moving parts. It was just like, ooh, like that's nice.
We're like, I think I was saying this earlier. I think to Parker, you were probably one of the only dudes at DePaul that listened to me back in the day. I was like, you guys should like maybe look into Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, we were. I think the first time I heard about Bitcoin was I had a couple friends that had this other startup that had this one engineer from Notre Dame, and he was like, I just heard he was like, he just had bought like so much Bitcoin and was like this, and he was like, just like a dirty, nerdy, like super nice guy, super brilliant guy. And I just kept hearing this story about how he like, you know, hit it big and then lost it all. You know, like he got hacked or something. It was like, oh, like Joey had like 10 million Bitcoin but then some Russian hacker took it all. And then he moved to Africa or something. And I was like, oh man, what is this Bitcoin? And then like, I remember you and me chatting about it, like probably, yeah, early on, just like in G chats, like, are you following this stuff? Like, this is like pretty wild.
Yeah, it was when I was working at Dearborn. I forgot about G-Chat. It was like you, my wife, and like two other people I would G-Chat.
Dude, G-Chats.
And that's where I would like, and I was like, dude,
you should check this out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, no, for sure. This is some big stuff here.
What do you think about it now, 10 years later?
Yeah, it's like, it's still like very legit. I mean, it's like gotten, personally, I feel like sometimes I get a little like depressed about Bitcoin just because like for it to really like thrive, I feel like the world just kind of has to fall apart.
I don't think so.
Like, I feel like it's constantly like you're waiting for like it's a lot of doom and gloom.
There is a lot of doom and gloom, but I don't think the world necessarily needs to fall apart. I think the likelihood of the world falling apart is pretty high. It's not, yeah, and that's why Bitcoin exists.
Yeah, like it's nice. It's great to have. Like I just think it's like amazing. It's great. But I feel like when I get really into it, like when I see like the whole Twitter like world, I'm just like, oh, like that's so like dark sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's so like I don't know. I like keep my distance, like a healthy distance, but I'm still like paying attention and like seeing what's going on all the time.
Yeah.
Like I loved going to El Salvador, like Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah, you went there. Who'd you go there with, Athena?
So I went there. Well, I went there by myself. I like had brought my girlfriend at the time, and I just wanted to like go surf there and like check it out, and like buying pupusas with, you know, like Bitcoin and stuff, and like going to restaurants and like buying food with Bitcoin. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is like real. It's happening. That was like 4 years ago, I don't know. Yeah, like 3 or 4 years ago, I was doing that. And then I met like the Shrike guys down there, and I really wanted a Bitcoin Beach t-shirt. like bad. I was like, oh, these are sick. And then as they were giving me one, they're like, oh, you're in Miami? Can you give one to Mayor Suarez? I was like, I don't know the guy. Like, and they're like, dear, just take one and get it to him. I was like, okay. So then like when I landed, I DM'd him and he like wrote, I was like, hey, I got this shirt from Bitcoin Beach guys. Can I like bring it over? And he was like, yeah, come by tomorrow. I was like, whoa. And then I was like, is this actually him or is this? And he was like, yeah, it's me. I was like,
where'd you meet him?
City Hall. He was there. And dude, it was crazy because the 2 buildings in Surfside had just gone down. Remember when that happened?
Oh yeah. I've got some theories on that one.
All right. Well, yeah, let's.
Nah, I'm kidding. There is a theory out there. So the theory for those buildings is that John McAfee's dead man switch was located.
What?
There's a theory out there. Have you heard this one, Logan? No. There's a theory that John McAfee's dead man switch was located in that building. They had to take it down.
So John McAfee's not just like alive somewhere, like in the Caribbean?
He may be. We don't know. His dead man switch didn't go off. Why not?
Wait, what does a dead man switch do? Or what is a dead man switch?
So if you're worried that the government or somebody's going to
take you down,
you're
going to take 2 buildings down with you?
Yeah, you put something on a computer and you say, hey, if I don't interact with this for X amount of time, like send the emails to the people or do something with the data.
Yeah. Well, Suarez,
just a theory.
He was in the middle of all that. He was in the middle of all that, and he was like, just swing by at like 1:30. I was like, okay. So I like show up. I was like, oh, I gotta get a pic, dude. Like, send it to the boys down in El Salvador. And he's wearing like fire department gear, and he's holding up the Bitcoin Beach shirt. I have it. Like, it's a great pic. But then I went back with Athena. So, do you know Matthias Goldenhorn? He's like the president now of Athena. He was like head of sales or something, or head of Latin America, because they're like a Chicago-based company.
Yep.
Bitcoin ATMs, Athena, and he was like, yeah. Oh, Bitcoin was becoming legal tender in El Salvador September 7th. I remember, and it was like August. I was just there in May, and August rolls around. I was like, dude, like, this is cool. What's happening down there? You're like there a lot, right? He's like, yeah, I'm actually like part of the team to like help with the Chivo wallet and like get businesses down there like ready to go. And like, he's like, I need so much help right now. He's like, actually, can you come down and help me? I was like, what? It's like, okay. He's like, can you get on a flight tomorrow? I was like, yeah, let's go. I just like show up into this like Airbnb that they rented out, and it was like a war room. And it was like 12 dudes in this Airbnb, and they had all these like card readers that were like Chivo wallet and like government sponsored. And like, I have another picture that I'll send you, Logan, that is like me at this desk, this table with like this whole operation of like people that were like, it felt very cool. Like very like, like I was in with like the whole like top dogs. Like, okay, we're making this happen with Bitcoin. It's like, we got to get Walmart to be able to accept Bitcoin here, and like the McDonald's and like everything is going to have to accept Bitcoin in 4 weeks. Like, are you ready? And I was like, dude, what are you going to have me even do? I don't even know what's going on here. And they just like didn't really know. It was just a madhouse. It was like seriously a madhouse.
The fact that you were like, I didn't know this until now. The fact that you were like in the room when all this is going on.
Like Bukele's like brother is like running the shit, and he's like walks in the room, and like Matthias is like under the desk, like, dude, chill, like where? And there was like, we were getting like escorted around and stuff. And
what did you actually do?
So
for them? How did you help out?
They wanted me to look like I was like part of the team. They were trying to like make their team look like bigger and like smarter and like American. I don't know. And like Matthias was like, we'll figure something out for you to do. Like, maybe you can help us out with like the AWS infrastructure or something, or like, we'll figure something out for you to do. And after like a day or two of just like hanging out with them, I was like, I don't see what I'm going to do here. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be adding value. Like, this is like, no, it was just kind of a wild, wild west. And what was I doing?
This is some incredible insight into the rollout of,
dude. So,
the latest Bitcoin.
So such incredible insight that I was like, how can I make money off this situation? And I was like, Athena was trading on an exchange, and the price of Athena was like 80 cents.
You're about to
get myself in trouble?
Yeah.
No, nothing wrong happened. So I was like, because didn't know how they were going to pay me either. They were like, oh, maybe we'll give you shares of the company. I was like, what is this company even worth? So I'm like looking at these filings and like trying to understand the business. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy, I've been known to option trade for my day. My dad was a broker dealer at the Board of Trade, and I've just been into it. And I was like, man, I could buy some of these options on this Athena stock that's 80 cents, and I bought like $1,000 worth of it. And then I told Matthias, I was like, dude, I just bought some Athena stock. And he's like, I don't know if that's gonna like do it. Like, he was just like, yeah, I don't know about that move. And I was like, really? Like, this guy, I was like, he talked me out of it. He basically like made me think like, oh, this is a bad move. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to cash out. I'm just going to get out of this. The next day, someone leaks that like Athena's, it's on Twitter. Someone leaks like Athena's the one rolling out Chivo wallet and Bitcoin price shoots up to like $30. It would have been worth a lot. And I was just like, fuck, man. Like, damn, that was like my shot. And yeah.
Unfortunately, you couldn't incriminate yourself because you sold.
I did sell. Yeah.
This is the weird world of Sean McDonnell. You just end up in these places next to Jeremy Shockey in the war room with Bukele's team as they're rolling out Bitcoin.
Yeah, that was crazy.
How do you end up in these situations?
I don't know. I probably just following the curiosity. I feel like that's probably how I've ended up there, and just like willing to like kind of go for it.
To send it, if you will.
Yeah, just send it.
That I did not know that. You never told me that story.
Dude, I'm almost positive I've told you that story. Like, I feel like there's more to it too. I mean, I still keep in touch with those guys. Shout out Carlos. This guy, he's like an attorney down there, and he was like, dude, I sent him some salt to the earth. He like loves it. He's like, oh, we got to get this down here. But like shipping internationally is like, I don't know.
Let's dive into this. It seems like I love this shit too. I've been using it a lot. And it's funny, having known you for 15 years. Like, maybe Rome has finally found his niche here. What's it been like starting this company?
This has been super fun. I mean, so I have kind of always been into this. Like, I worked at the Gatorade Sports Science Institute in high school. It was like across the street from my high school, Barrington. It's not there anymore, but it used to be one of their like hubs. And I would do these different like lab tests and try new flavors, and they would analyze my sweat. And it was kind of just like this weird, side gig that I did for like 10 years. It was like always like, hey, like I'd get an envelope in the mail. That's how or I'd get an email actually. And it'd say like, yeah, we got this new 10-week study. Like, are you available? It pays like $50 an hour. I was like, always like, yeah, hell yeah. That train is always on time. And then I just was like failing with my own, with the protein powder, and then like, just like started to do e-commerce stuff the last year. on Amazon, and I was reselling other brands. Like I was reselling a lot of shoes, a lot of Nikes, Adidas, and Puma, New Balance. And I was like, man, I want to just sell my own brand. The margins are so much better. And kind of went on this surf sabbatical last year where I was like, you know, I had this video editing agency that I stumbled upon too, where I met Ryan Breslow. He was like I met him at this party, at this like hackathon party at Miami Hack Week, and just like started talking to him and whatever. And then I like showed him a video that I made for a VC, Atomic Ventures, that I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I just made this cool video. It was actually a video of Pomp and Abraham, I forget the guy's name. But it was a video of Pomp actually. And I showed it to him and I was like, yo, like, Ryan, do you know anyone that would like want videos like this? And he was like, me, I want these. I was like, okay, like, how many? He's like, a lot. And I was like, okay. And again, never had no experience doing this at all. I was like, okay, well, we can go rent a studio just kind of like this. We just go rent a studio for like an hour and a half. And I would just like talk to him and ask him questions, kind of like a podcast. And he would just like talk. And then I had a team in the Philippines that would just like cut it up and animate it. And then he would like share it. And then after he started posting these, I started like getting more clients, like people that were just like, yo, make those for me. And that bit was a business that was 0% interest. Like everybody had money for that. And then they didn't. Like everyone's like, no, this is like, the price came way down. The AI tools got way more advanced. Like, so like I had that business going with the shoes. And then I was also selling offshore software development people because I just like knew how to code, but I just like kind of sucked at it. And I was like, oh, I'm better at sales. I could just get these guys in India or South America or whoever and link them up with companies here in the US. And so, yeah, I just kind of like had all these different things going on. And then at the beginning of 2023, I was like, I started this like surf adventure. I was like, okay, I'm going to Costa Rica for a month. I'm getting ready to go to this place, the Mentawais in Indonesia. Have you ever, the Mentawais? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I booked this trip with 4 guys from University of Denver when I went there. And these are like good snowboarders and friends. And we all kind of picked up surfing later on. And we had just put this trip in the books. It's kind of like one of those like destination, like bucket list surf trips. I was not prepared. Like my skill level was like not there. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to spend a month in Costa Rica, surf every day. I like had like this like coach that just like would like scream at me and like really push me hard. And then after that, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Nicaragua. And I actually linked up with Ryan O'Rourke. Remember him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was living in Santa Teresa, another guy we played lacrosse with. He was living in Santa Teresa and he was like, dude, I'm moving to Nicaragua. I was like, why? He's like, oh, it's too crowded here. Lineup's too crowded. It's too expensive. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Nicaragua. So then I went there for a month and I was in this place called Hacienda Iguana, which is like this bubble retirement community that has like 2 world-class waves. One's called Panga Drops and one's called Colorado's. Just Colorado's is like super famous wave that wasn't working the whole time that I was there, but I was still surfing Panga Drops every day. So then I go back to Miami. I'm still like doing the shoes thing, but it's just like kind of like whatever. It's like, and then I go to Portugal, surf in Ericeira for a while, check out Nazaré, meet up with one of my friends. Then we go to the Mentawais. And once we're in the Mentawais, it was like, I mean, amazing, like heaven. It's like 2 weeks of just like, we stayed at this place called Awera Resort. And, it is like summer camp for adults. You wake up at 6 a.m. And what's awesome is like, you're just like with your boys the whole time, It's like, you wake up 6 a.m., have a coffee, And then you get in this boat, and the boat takes you to these waves, like perfect waves. And you're there all by yourself with like, you know, your dudes, and you got like the music in the boat, and it's got a cooler and whatever. And you just surf for like 3 hours till you're like dead. And then you get off, go back, eat, go back, do it again for like 10 days straight. We just did that. And it was like, amazing. And you're also eating like really great food. And while that's happening, I'm like kind of renting out my studio in South Beach the whole time. I had like kind of figured out, I was listing my South Beach apartment on apartments.com, and I was like getting people like, and I was like, okay, yeah, like rent it. I was just like able to kind of like make it, like swing it. And then when I was in Mentawise, some girl was like, I want to book it for 2 months. I was like, okay. So she books it for 2 months, and I was like, where am I going to go? Like, and while I was there, everyone's like, you got to go to Bali. Like, we're here. It's like close. Like, it's about to be peak season over there for surfing. Like, you got to go. And so I was like, all right, I got to go. So then I find this spot in Bali. I book it, like pay for the 2 months in advance. And then I get there, and the girl flakes at the last second that was supposed to rent me the spot. So I'm like, fuck. It's like, I'm trying to get out of this now. And I'm like, and I can't get out of it. I can't get my money back. So I'm like, I just got to eat this, and I'm going to stay, and I'm going to make the best of it. And so I'm like, I need to start a new business. I'm running out of money. I'm like, I got to start something new. And I was surfing super hard in the morning. Like, I'd wake up at like 5:36, surf for like 2 hours, and then I go to this place, the Bali Training Center. It was like amazing, just like, you know, like amazing, good looking people there working out, sweating heavy. And then after that, there's like a restaurant where everyone's like hanging out, and then go to this place called Santai, and there's like an amazing sauna, ice bath. So I'd do that whole thing by 11, and I'd be done by like 11, and I'd be just dead, like totally. And I'd be like, okay, I'd go to this co-working space after and try to like get some work done on my businesses and stuff. And I just like had no energy. And I was like drinking caffeine and like drinking tons of water, eating lots of food, and like couldn't wake up. Like I couldn't get it going. And then I started to just like add salt, just like pink Himalayan salt. And I was like waking up, and it just changed everything. Like I was totally a different person. I was able to just like push through and recover and like get up and just like keep going. And so I was like, man, I'm here. Like I want to like make the best of every single day. I don't know if I'm ever gonna come back to this place. Like I want to surf every day, every morning. Like I want to be out there. And so that, yeah, it just like helped me like get through it. And then I was there, and I was like talking to, you know, different suppliers, and started to like visit them and like tweak the formula and just like really like get into it and like working on the packaging, the design, and like going back and forth with like different designers and like people in the Philippines that I knew that were like, you know, Sri Lanka, like everyone was like, no one was, you know, I'm the only US based part of this brand really, for now. But, yeah, I was just like really just hustling to like make it happen. And I was starting to while I was in Bali, I was like, I'm going to start taking pre-orders. I was like, I have the formula kind of like figured out, like halfway.
How'd you come up with the formula?
The formula was, so I was like looking at Liquid IV and Element, and I was kind of like, okay, these are the big boys. And first I was like, okay, yeah, Liquid IV is definitely like the biggest boy. I mean, that founder, I had kind of like, you know, admired his story and heard him talk about how he saw the product being developed, or he saw like pro baseball players drinking Pedialyte, and he was like, this is kind of like ridiculous. We should come up with something different. And he he just inspired me. And then, but I also really liked the Element guys. I was just like, these guys this seems like the more advanced way to do this. Like this, and then in just trying the different products myself, I was like, this is more the product that I think makes me feel the best. Like I feel like with Liquid IV, there's like all these like B vitamins and like a bunch of bullshit that just like doesn't really do anything. It's not like really going to make you feel that much better. Like the salt is like, you could just do the salt. Like you could just buy pink Himalayan salt in the morning and like not use this. And like, yeah, you know, you'll feel it, but it doesn't taste good.
What does it do?
The salt really like, it kind of like pushes water into your cells. Like sodium, just like, it's kind of like the simplest way I can like explain it. But, yeah, I mean, it's really replacing what you lose in sweat, you know, just like how Gatorade always sold it to you.
Yeah, and they like, because I've seen you do like the demos of like where you put the thing into
the Metrometer.
Yeah, the Metrometer, and that. So what's happening there?
So that is a sensor. It's a piece of plastic that's like a straw that's held up by 2 copper wires, and it measures the like strength of the charge between the 2 copper wires. And when there's a stronger electrolyte concentration, it's just like a stronger current. It's just like a stronger charge in your body. And so I saw a friend of mine actually had this Metrometer Instagram video that he posted that like went super viral, and I was like, oh, that's so smart. Where he's like grounding, he has his feet on the ground.
That video. Yeah.
And he's like touching like a tree, and then he like uses and it's like, I was like, wow, that's like listening to someone talk about grounding is like very like hippy dippy. Like, I don't want to hear you. But like when he pulled that thing out and you're like looking at numbers, you're like, oh, this is like legit. So I was like,
I'm a big fan of grounding.
Yeah, me too. It's like kind of weird to say, but like, it's totally legit. It's totally legit. I mean, I love going out and like, I try to work out on the sand every day if I can. It's just like, it's the best. And like jump in the ocean. I feel like it's like the best. But when he showed that video, I was like, that is so powerful to like see some numbers, some measurement. And you know, you see there's so many comparison videos of like, this is how much sugar our product has. This is how much sugar our product has. You decide. And it's like, show me something like, I don't know, better than that. Like, that's like the Logan Paul move. Logan Paul's like, this is how much sugar Prime has. This is how much sugar everybody else has. It's like, shut up, dude. Stuff sucks.
You were telling me about what's wrong with Prime? It's got too much.
It's all potassium. There's no sodium. It's like 10 milligrams of sodium. And they're like, we have 800 milligrams of electrolytes. Yeah, but like 790 of them are potassium. And that's not hydrating you. That's not like helping you. Like, you don't sweat potassium. Like, you sweat salt.
So that's what Salt of the Earth does.
Yeah. Salt gets you the salt, baby. Yeah, man.
And what's it been like getting this off the ground?
Dude, it's been, you know, I think Elon said this where he's like, you know, because I'll compare myself to Elon. He's like, entrepreneurship is like staring at a dark hole and like eating glass. You're just, I mean, like, I think it's just like, it's always like fear and euphoria. You know, like some days I'm just like super high, like, oh my God, we just closed all these Equinoxes and hotels. And then other days I'm just like, how am I going to pay my rent? Like, what am I going to eat? Like, how is this going to work? So, you know,
well, it seems like it's getting traction. Like it's been like, when you said it to me first, I was like, all right, I'll try it out. And I tasted it. I was like, oh shit. And then I was at the gym. I usually take it after my workouts. I'm like, like it does give you that burst of energy.
I mean, I'll tell you one of the highest. I'll tell you probably the highest I've ever gotten, like pure euphoria feel, was after you tweeted about it and seeing orders come in. I was like, yes. It was like ching, 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 and I was like, oh my god. My adrenaline was like going.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Like, how do you plan on, like, so I think you got a good product there. Like, how do we scale it?
You know, I think you just go to drinksote.com/TFTC and just hit that button. I don't know. I mean, I think I could bootstrap it pretty far.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it'd be nice to, I have this conversation in my head a lot where it's like, yeah, just take the whole thing, just bootstrap this baby. And then other times I'm like, it'd be nice to get like some investment and some more people involved. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah. I think you're riding a trend though. I think people are really beginning to realize that, oh, maybe we should care about our health and do preventative health.
Totally.
And hydration's important. Is hydration important?
Yeah, man. You know it's important.
Is electrolytes important?
You know this. I mean, first thing you do when you get into a ER is they hit you with a saline solution because you're probably dehydrated. Like 70% of the population is like chronically dehydrated. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, a lot of times I've just noticed in myself, especially like with the fasting stuff, I've realized, like, especially in the afternoon, for some reason in the afternoon was when I would like want to just like eat snacks all afternoon. It's like, oh, it's snack time. Like, let's just eat whatever. And I kind of realized it's like, I'm not even hungry. I'm just like bored. And I like but like, and then if I'm trying to replace that with water, then I'm just like having to pee like all the time. So then when I was like, now if I just have one of these, I'm actually not hungry. I'm just thirsty is what I've like come to realize is that, and I feel like that's probably the case with a lot of other people where they're not actually hungry. They're just thirsty. And it's kind of like disguised as like, oh, I need to eat. But then like, I mean, you just did 5 days, no eating. It's like, you can do it. And like, you feel actually pretty good. Like,
yeah, I felt really good last Thursday.
It's like amazing. Like
2 Thursdays.
I was like scared to do the 72 hours because I was like, I'm not going to be able to mentally function. I'm going to be like, but I was actually like really sharp. You know, you're kind of like on edge. Like,
yeah, at the end of day 2, you're like, all right, I'm in a groove now. I'm like used to being hungry. Hunger pangs go away. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, it's changed like how I think about fitness and endurance and just like getting through the day. Cause I think with the natural like circadian rhythm of most people, you're kind of like supposed to be kind of feeling like tired around like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You're kind of like, your body's kind of like, okay, it's time to like, but then if I like have one of these at like 2 o'clock, which I usually do, I'm like ready to, I'm good. I'm like, I don't really need, and it's amazing that it's like, also if you drink it in the morning, like first thing in the morning, which I usually do, is like, sometimes I don't even feel like I need to have coffee. It's like, I'm not actually tired. I'm just dehydrated. That's the other one is like, wow, I mean, I still love coffee, but I drink sad coffee.
What's that?
It's like, that's what my brother's wife calls it. Like, I'll just have a glass of whole milk and like instant coffee and like maple syrup, and I'll microwave it.
That's disgusting.
It's sad.
That is sad.
Sad coffee. But it's fast. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just like lazy with the drip too, or like French press. I probably should just do one of those, but I'm just like, I
It
don't
takes
know.
like 5 minutes for a pot of coffee.
But now I've been drinking a lot of milk.
Raw milk?
I wish.
Are you on the raw milk too?
I want to get on the raw milk, but I've just been doing the whole milk.
Yeah, the raw milk's a big upgrade.
Do you get it?
Yeah, they sell it here in Austin. That's how I broke my fast. I did raw milk, 3 raw eggs, and honey.
Raw eggs?
Yeah, raw. Raw eggs. You move to Texas to get a Southern draw.
Nice. And you get the cowboy boots?
And you get the cowboy boots.
Nice.
And you get a hat from Deep Eddy Cabaret. I'm officially a northerner in Texas. Is this the look of somebody who was transplanted here, Logan? All right. drinksote.com/TFTC if you want 15% off.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah. Anything else we should tell the freaks?
Oh, should I talk about the Jack Dorsey story?
Yeah. I think we can end it with the Jack Dorsey story.
All right. So last year, I started that, surf sabbatical, and I was in Costa Rica. And I sit down at dinner, and at the corner of my eye, I see him at the table next to me. And I'm like looking across the table at my buddy. I was like, yo, that's Jack Dorsey. He's with 11. Look at that girl. Oh my God. Smoke. And then nothing happens, whatever. But then the next day I see him again at this reggae club. I think this place actually closed down, but the whole town goes to this reggae club. And so I go in and I see him, and I was with this girl, and I was like, oh my God. And he had a bunch of cute girls around, and he had security, and he was by the exit, he was he had his own entrance and exit that it was private little corner. And I was like, oh man, I want to just say what's up to this guy. But I don't want to be I don't want to be that meme of the guy that's screaming into the girl's ear, trying to say yo,
There's only 21 million Bitcoin. You gotta get them.
What's up, dude? You want to? I just didn't know. I didn't want to do that. It was so loud too. So I'm how am I even gonna talk to this guy? It's so fucking loud. And so then I'm dancing with my girl. I'm having a good time. I'm kind of forgetting about it. And then so at some point, she drags me closer to him. And then at one point I'm arm's length away, and I was just I gotta say what's up. I gotta say something. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I gonna say to this guy? And I just kind of leaned in at one point, and I was yo, Jack, love what you're doing for Bitcoin, man. And he was yo, thank you. I appreciate that. He was what's your name? I was yeah, I'm Sean. He's oh, I'm Jack. I was yeah, no shit, you're Jack. I was and then right after that, he just kind of he looked at his security and bouncers, and just kind of gave him a nod, yo, this guy's fine. Don't fucking kill this guy. And the rest of the night, we're just shoulder to shoulder, he just kind of welcomes me into his circle of hot babes, and we're just shoulder to shoulder dancing the rest of the night. It was so awesome. And yeah, that was it. I didn't get a picture or nothing. I was just you
got a good story.
I got a great story, and it was a great memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You live a wild life, sir. It's funny coming from your basement apartment in Chicago to bumping elbows with Jack Dorsey. The Athenia story might be the funniest thing. The fact that you were in the war room in Venezuela the week before they
El Salvador,
before they launched the Bitcoin law.
Yeah.
The fact that you were in that room blows my mind, but I'm happy you were.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I got the picture to prove that.
You got a lot of stories. Jeremy Shockey, Athena, Jack Dorsey, Bali, starting a Electrolytes company.
Yeah, for the freaks.
For the freaks.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth for the freaks. drinksote.com/TFTC. Peace and love, freaks. Take care.